Welcome in, everyone, to the Football Friday. It's October 13th, Friday the 13th, 2017. I'm your host, the Big Man on Campus. Joining you live with my co-host, Donnie Wright. Said, Donnie, another Football Friday, Week 7, college football, Week 6, NFL. We got it going in style last night. We'll break that down. How you doing today? It's feeling a little bit more like fall out there.
Yeah, about time. Feeling like fall. The Eagles are 5-1. It's been a while since the Eagles had been 5-1. A nice victory, pulled it out. Had to fight a good Carolina Panthers team. Had to fight being on the road on Thursday night. Had to fight the officials, and good teams win those games. When you play a very good opposing team and the officials, and you win the football game, that's pretty impressive, big man.
Yeah, we'll get into an in-depth recap. We'll also recap. By the way, is that Cubs-Nationals game over? Is that over yet?
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe
even
another review out there. Yeah, could be.
Not on. It was like a 5-hour game. I felt like, dude, I literally felt like that game was on for like 8 hours. I'm like watching the Eagles.
No, it was
game.
actually the good part about that, Jeff, is it actually got a little bit exciting by the time the Eagles game ended. So you were able just to tune in and watch a little bit of it. That was pretty good.
I'm watching the Eagles game, and it's in like the third inning when they started the Eagle game. Eagles game's over, and they're still in like the seventh inning. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how long does this game go? But the Cubs move on. Nats go home. But we all knew that, didn't we? I mean, we knew Dusty Baker would screw up somehow. I don't know if he screwed up, but they screwed up, and he's on their team. So
yeah, you can't go win game 4 on the road, come home, and then take a commanding lead in game 5, and then you pull all the wrong strings in that environment. You end up getting yourself beat. And I do want to get to the point on baseball replay and the spirit of the law. Baseball replay is supposed to correct inaccuracies. A home run down the line that was foul, but was really a home run, you review it. A play at second base where it's stealing, it's a clear out. Swipes the tag before he gets to the base.
He was out, though, Lobaton, Donnie. He was out.
But no, he was out. But I sort of miss old school baseball where it's not about, let's just say the throw beat, you're safe at second base, you slide over, your whole body goes over the bag, and your belt buckle lifts you up by a quarter fraction of 100,000th of an inch. But you held the tag on for 37 minutes, and they can review that. The spirit of the rule was wrong, and that's not what replay was for or used to be corrected on. A bang-bang play at the plate where you can see he's out from a nice tag. But the fact that, it may or may not his ankle been up, depending on which way you looked at it, that's not the spirit of the law of replay is for.
If you're an Astros fan this morning, you're saying to yourself, that fucking Jose Lobaton, he didn't do shit for us all year, and he didn't do shit for us last night. He can't just stay on the fucking base. A career 218 hitter, Donnie, Jose Lobaton.
Brutal. I mean, yeah, we always joke about what the guy in Cleveland, Perez, you step up to the plate, you're like, how is this guy a major league player? The same way I used to think with the Philadelphia Phillies, and even with Cleveland, when Michael Martinez would come up, and I'm saying, let me get this straight. The guy's been in the major leagues for like a decade and hits like 180, never gets a base hit. But the dude is playing like every other night. It's one of those things, Jeff, we'll never understand in that situation. You're right, though, on Lobaton. When he comes up, it's usually an automatic out, and then he's floating off of first base like he's, going to score on a single or something.
It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you doing in that situation? Anthony Rizzo tags him out, and the other night, Lester and him tag out. I forget who it was. Either way, Cubs are almost feel like they're destined again to go to the fucking World Series. We'll see what happens. Dodgers, Cubs coming up. I believe Saturday. That'll get 14th, going.
Yeah, tomorrow. The doubleheader on Saturday. Game at 4:00, game at 8:00. But Jeff, I mean, I think we might be watching a little bit of college football that day during those times.
I agree. Yankees, Astros tonight. I'll get to that one a little bit later. But, Donnie, let's discuss why we're here. It's Football Friday. It's Football Friday, but we start out with baseball. That's how it goes sometimes. Football Friday, though, Donnie, we'll break down the game, what happened last night. Get your questions ready. That doesn't mean send them in now. That means when we say it, get your questions ready, send them in. We'll go over them. We'll try to give you a breakdown, give you a pick. I'll try to give you my opinion on it. Big man, how do you keep up with all these college games now they play? Do you watch most of them? I do not watch them, no. I just a lot of it's memory, Donnie, as you know. Most of it's just, watching the teams once or twice and
you feel. You're right.
Putting that in your head. I'll tell you one thing about this business. If you have a good memory, you can do a lot of things. I might not be the best at any of this, but the one thing I do have is a very good memory, and I can store it away and just remember. You know what I mean? I can remember who, who someone is or where they play or something. So I would just say, try to read and watch as much as you can. You know what I do, Donnie?
Yes.
There's this guy on the internet, and I've mentioned this with basketball. The way I keep up with so many teams is at night I actually watch condensed versions of the games, or the whole game. You can watch the replays back. So like last night, I actually watched for like a half an hour. I watched that Texas State UL Lafayette game just to see what went on. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would say to do.
ESPN3 is a great tool for that because ESPN's a huge carrier. They don't have every game, but if you're looking for most of them, you can go back over a month's time and you're going to find a game. And again, Jeff's right. There's 70, 80, whatever games on a Saturday. You're not going to be able to catch up. But it's not like college basketball, Jeff, where you can always pop in and be like, each team's going to play 35 games. I'll catch them and see what it is. You're right, though. You know the stats out there. You know the situations. You know the players. You know the way teams like to play. That's really the key of it all.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get into it. Eagles 28, Panthers 23, a gigantic win for the Eagles. And look, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I told you so. I told you the Eagles would win. I didn't think they'd have to win the way they did and how they did it. But look, the Eagles are a different football team this year. I believe they are. I think they showed they are. This Eagles team would lose a game like this the last couple of years. They would let the penalties get in the way. They would let Lane Johnson being out get in the way. And Donnie, let's not, let's discuss that first out of the gate. The offensive line in the first quarter was a mess, but I'm going to tell you, they improved significantly throughout the game. Carson had more time to throw. It wasn't as big of a problem. I didn't really hear them do much of anything in the second half to be worried about. They were great. The offensive line, Donnie, when you're not talking about them, that's what they want. If you're an offensive lineman, you don't want to hear your name being called because it's usually a penalty or it's something you didn't do. I thought in the second half, they really ratcheted it and were a lot better.
Yeah, you take a look at this game, Jeff. All week long, we're looking at the Fletcher Cox situation. We top three defensive tackle in all of football. You could argue he might be the best, he might be the second, third, whatever, but he's up there. And you're saying there's no way he's going to be active. Like we heard the song and dance before, bad calf injury, and you say, well, short week this week. Why don't we be precautionary? We're going to hold him out. He's going to have 10 days to get ready for the next game, a Monday nighter with a division rival, huge game. They let him play, Jeff, and I'm not going to lie. Fletcher Cox pushed the pocket damn near every single snap he took against Cam Newton when he dropped back to pass. I don't know if this game turns out differently if he's not in there, but he single-handedly forced that interception when the Eagles were down 10-3, which allowed them to tie the football game up. He was amazing all night long, and that's that bit of information where, a guy steps in late. Usually you say, quarterback's out or, running back's out. Oh, it's only a half of a point. Fletcher Cox might have been the defensive MVP on that side just for his pocket, maneuvering up. And again, Ryan Cleo being out of the game was a big difference as well, but he was awesome.
He's the best player on the defense. Clearly. He's what makes that group go. And, Donnie, I got to give a lot of game balls to defense. Nigel Bradham was awesome. All over the field. I've never seen – I'm not a big Bradham fan, but last night he really played well. That was really a great game. He was everywhere. Michael Kendricks had 17 tackles last night, Donnie. That's something that has to be pointed out. Bradham had 10. So they combined for 27 tackles, those two. But two things I have to ask. One, why does Cam Newton throw 52 times? I know they can't run the ball at all, but 52 times.
It almost looked like a reverse psychology there for us, Jeff. We've seen Andy Reid throw the ball 52 times at will. You have to keep the defense honest. I know people get mad and say, well, they're running and it's going backwards. The whole thread of it there is you want to make sure that the linebackers and the safeties are still engaged and saying, I'm not just going to bail out. And we saw what we saw a lot, Jeff. When things start to go south for Cam Newton, they tend to stay going south. He had time. The Eagles let him back in the football game late. Didn't help from the referees. Every time there was a big ticky-tack foul, let's just say, Alshon Jeffrey got held at the line of scrimmage, no call. Another play downfield, no call. But then those ticky-tacks went Carolina's way. Carolina was in the football game in the fourth quarter, and Cam Newton made a few disastrous passes
Right.
which led to them losing the football game. Because I'm not going to lie, Jeff, when we got the ball back at 3:30, I'm like, good, we're going to run it and be able to get a first down. You punt back with what, 2:03 on the clock or whatever it was. I'm saying to myself, like, we've seen this before. And Cam Newton's throwing deep at times. He shouldn't be throwing deep. It's 3rd and 1. Why doesn't he just run the ball up the middle, get the first down, and keep the chains moving? Just a couple odd things from Riverboat Ron late in that game.
Yeah, I actually had to live with this live on the air. I had to do this live on the air, all of this. I was there with Gabe Morency, and it was interesting because it was tough, Donnie, because everyone's TV was ahead of mine. So I was literally reacting.
Yes, NFL Network was literally like 5 to 7 seconds behind the CBS feed last night.
Yeah, well, I even had the CBS feed on, and I was still behind.
It's been like we've watched games together, Jeff, where you're faster than me one game, I'm slower than you the next game. So yeah, I mean you can't watch it that way because especially we're already on a delay as it is on Google Hangouts. You see the chat box, oh my God, great play, and the ball hasn't even been snapped yet on your TV screen.
I'll say this: the Panthers. I mean, there's a lot of bad rushing attacks in the NFL. They may have one of the worst. Their rushing attack is brutal. Bad. When your quarterback is 71 of your 80 yards, I mean, this team can't run the football. And again, that's hence why they threw it 52
Jeff,
times.
It wasn't even like they couldn't run the football, but they were losing like 5 yards per run, it seemed like. It was really amazing. You're right.
And again, I mean, the NFL really should be ashamed about a lot of things, but one thing they need to clean up is Pete Morelli. Pete Morelli has a clear issue with the Eagles. I mean, you look at the latest 2 games with Pete Morelli out there, 27 penalties for 237 yards. The opponents, 3 penalties for 19 yards. I mean,
you can call stuff in games, Jeff, on both teams. The ones that really get me angry are the point of attack plays, like the one screenshot I did with Brandon Graham's about to sack the quarterback, just gets tackled by the tight end. But also the plays that really, like in college basketball, Jeff, you look up at the clock, there's 10 fouls on one team, 1 on the other. You know what's coming next. There's going to be about 4 to 5 straight ticky-tack fouls go the opposite team's direction. They had to look up and see that. And it got so bad, Jeff, every single kickoff team in the NFL is offsides on every single kickoff. And somehow the Eagles got flagged out of nowhere for being offsides on the freaking kickoff. Are you kidding me with that?
I had to laugh at the penalty on LeGarrette Blount unnecessary for blocking. Then LeGarrette Blount on the next series, same thing happens against
thrown
him.
Down late. Yes,
doesn't get it. Shut
up. Also, the one that really
stop, Ace Farmer, please. Don't stop with that. The least penalized team. You were at the game. Maybe you didn't see it. It was. I mean, and I know because we go to games and it's hard to see what people see on TV. No, that has nothing to do with them being the least penalized team. It was an unfair advantage, and they still won.
Yeah, the PIs were bad there, but the one that really, Jeff, which I told, like Gabe texted me earlier, like, hey, why don't you come on the Betcast tonight? We'll have a great time. You 2 Eagles fans. I'm going to take Carolina, have fun. I told Gabe, I was like, look, I lose my mind during games, but I love the chat box. Like, I'll sit at my desk here with the TV up and I'll go stand, like Jeff, you were doing last night, like go stand in front of the TV, then come back to the computer, go stand in front of the TV. But the one that I lost my mind on was the delay of game penalty where the refs were late to blow the whistle. They run up to Cam Newton, and he looks like a sniper hit him in the leg and got the 15-yard penalty. Those are the ones I can't stand because as referees, you got to come together and say, look, I don't even know if he actually got hit. You can throw the flag right away. I get it. Like, oh, my God, he fell down. You come together and talk like, dude, Cam just took a dive, man. We got to take it back. I lost my mind over that 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with where they are penalized or if they're not. The game was called incorrectly and not correctly. The game, you can't talk about them not being penalized. I mean,
first time in NFL history, Jeff.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying here. It has nothing to do with if they're penalized a lot. I mean, again, it was a delay of game also. The penalty shouldn't have happened. The play shouldn't have happened, Donnie. If there's a delay of game that needs to be called, you can't miss that.
But it's not even the fact that is like they snapped the football, and you saw like the Eagles, you had 4 linemen get in right away, and they're sort of blowing the whistle. And when you're in football, you can't just stop. But again, you can run up and run into somebody. But the fact that Cam Newton is 6'5", 260, and act like he got hit by 16 Mack trucks, was just repulsive to me. I can't. That's like a soccer play. With me, I always kid with you, Jeff. Like, you touch a guy on the leg, he has to get carried off on the car. I was furious at that penalty, more so than any of the pass interferences, any of the missed holding calls, any of the other nonsense. That penalty got under my skin more than any other one.
Yeah, I mean, and I said that during the, Gabe said he didn't think it was a roughing the passer, and he thought it was roughing the passer, and
it wasn't even close.
Right, and I said it looked like a soccer game, it looked like Ronaldo in the box. I mean, he wouldn't even do that. And you know what's great in soccer, Donnie? They give you a penalty for flopping. They give you a yellow card.
Yeah.
They should do it more in the NFL. Amazing. You look at Carolina, Donnie. Okay, this is. Do you think this has anything to do with who Carolina is? Quickly. Carolina is 4.2 penalties a game. The next closest, 5. The third closest, 5.6. So Carolina has almost 1.4 penalties less than everyone else in the league.
No, and there's something to be said for that. Like, I get that. You know what I mean? If you're a very disciplined team, I mean, we see it, Jeff, with the service academies. Like, they just don't hold. Look, like, if you tell a service academy guy, don't hold in this game, he's not going to hold. It's just the way it goes. And, everything else breaks down with other teams more undisciplined. So the more discipline you have, I agree. But there's some plays that one way, you have to call it the other way. Like a good pitcher. Like, if you throw the ball in the outside corner and it's not a strike, the other team will say, look, as long as you give me that call, you can call that all game long and we understand what the rules are. The pass interferences that go against the Eagles and not against Carolina, those are the ones that get under your skin a little bit, because if you call them both ways and you say, dude, they're really bad calls, but at least you both got the bad calls, you can live with that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. QQQ Wilson saying, yeah, SBR should do a little video on what the different refs do. It's an interesting, good point by him. I mean, there are a lot of refs, and you wonder what exactly they do. They got the line judge, the down judge, and down judge, make sure the downs are correct. Mm-hmm. Line judge, make sure the ball's placed correctly. Side judge, make sure everything on the sidelines are all right. Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. But Morelli definitely has some issue with the Eagles.
Like you have, like, you're a professional referee. Like, you ref one game a week, and you've probably been doing it for a decade. It's just common sense. Like, when you go back to the half, like they hang out. It's like a football team. They all go to the room and review what we're doing, and nobody thinks to say, is like, hey guys, man, it's 9-1 or 8-1 at penalties at the half. What do you guys see out there? Yeah, there's some ticky-tack calls. All right. We'll be on the lookout for stuff. Like, you don't just want to have makeup calls like a hockey game. Like, you get a penalty in overtime. Now the next one that comes up, the other team gets the penalty. You don't want that. But there has to be a common sense. Now, again, Jeff, if the Eagles are out there straight mugging, like if we came in and said, we can't defend your wide receivers, the only way to defend them is to try to get away with straight up cheating on them, knocking them down, holding on to them, pass interferences, we would understand. But some pretty lame, 50-50 action out there getting called.
Also, I'm not quite sure I understand the reasoning on why you just let the clock tick down to 0 at the half. I don't really get that thinking pattern either. I mean, I get you don't want to kick a field goal there, but you don't even throw the end zone. You
didn't throw to the end zone. That was my whole thing. Like, a lot of people say, go for 57-yard, and I say, you know what? Yeah, you can do that.
He's a good kicker. He could probably make that.
He could probably make it. And Cam has a cannon. Are you telling me Cam couldn't run around the pocket for 3 seconds, get an open lane, and just lob a ball into the end zone? But you threw it like 15 yards over. I didn't get it once.
I mean, it was tied at that point. They know the Eagles have a good defensive line. They also know that they get the ball first. Maybe they're wanting to play conservative, but I'm not really sure what exactly could happen really bad there unless, you really screw it up. And
Doug going for 2, Jeff, Guan White brings up, which I still can't.
Because they got a penalty. They were a yard.
But it worked. But you're
it was a bad decision.
I mean, because and then you see the people, the Doug backers, see that, man? Look how aggressive, man! It worked. He did it. And you don't win the football game in the first half or early third quarter by going for 2 to make it an 8-point, because it's still a 1 possession game. You hurt yourself if LeGarrette Blount gets stopped on that play, and you go, well, now they can just take the straight up lead. Like, this is just stupid football. I'm going to look at my analytics. If we get to the 1, who's actually good on analytics, Jeff, with a bad head coach it ended up being was Chip Kelly. And they say, Chip, you always went for it, from, wherever you are. Well, from the 2-yard line to the 1-yard line, it's not even a 50-50 proposition. But if I kick an extra point, even at that distance, it's like 91% or 81% to go in. Like, Doug, I get you want the feel, and we're at the 1. Let's get momentum. You dummy. Kick the extra point.
That was a dumb decision. And it will be magnified because it won't be magnified because they won. Just like that 4th and 8 decision against who was that? I think it was the Redskins.
Giants when you were up. Okay, it's the Giant game.
There was a lot of no one really remembered that because they won, but he needs to wake up with these stupid ideas. With another idea in the first quarter, Donnie Vitae was just getting mugged. I mean, on the right side, you got to put someone over there. I mean, Donnie, it was amazing. I think we all knew Lane Johnson being out was a concern.
Yeah, a concern. Yes, not a.
I didn't think it'd be that bad, actually.
Here was the game plan for Carolina. Like, well, we're just going to overload blitz and line up over that side. And it wasn't even the fact, Jeff, that he was getting beat. If you watch the one play by, I believe it was, I don't think it was Shaq or it was maybe Luke on one of the sides, but 2 linemen, you make your assignments, you call it the protections. 2 linemen take one guy and the linebacker just comes off the edge and blows up Carson. I'm saying to myself, like, that's the problem. Like, the dude doesn't even know his calls correctly to get in there. Come on, man. Jeez.
As far as Graham Gano, his longest field goal in his career, he had a 59-yarder one time with the Redskins. Keep in mind, that was in 2011. Since then, his longest field goal was 55 yards. That field goal last night would have been 58 yards. Again, I think you try it. I mean, just because.
Yeah, because you go to the half. I mean, if you're expecting a block and a return touchdown, well, then your special teams are just trash. You know what I mean? But if he misses the kick, you go to the half.
Eagles have been one of the better special teams units. Again, you're kind of, you're dealing with what ifs. I mean, the chances that happen are fairly low. I would have gave it a shot. I at least would have thrown it to the end zone just because. Here's the thing that I don't understand about it. Your receivers are much bigger than the Eagles' corners. Benjamin and Funchess are bigger physically than Rasul Douglas and Jalen Mills. I would have threw it to the end zone. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, don't you have to? You're right. Good point. Like, don't you have the perfect wide receivers for a Hail Mary jump ball? Jeez.
Exactly.
2 twin towers.
Yeah, right. I didn't understand that, but hey, I don't try to understand Ron Rivera. He's a guy he's another one that just kind of, but it's NFL coaches nowadays. That's kind of what they do. So, Donnie, the Eagles, we'll wrap it up with this. The Eagles are number 1 in the NFC. The Chiefs are number 1 in the AFC, and the Eagles' only losses to the Chiefs. Are you finally ready? Because Keyshawn Johnson just deflected the question last night when he was asked that. He just started talking about, it's week 5, blah, 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 or whatever it is, and he didn't want to give a discussion. Do you think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC right now?
It's hard to say, because you're trying to play it, and they've already had that argument on the NFL Network. The Eagles are going to be right up there. I didn't anticipate them being 5-1.
This is what everyone does, Donnie. Answer the question. Do you think right now?
No. Because if they go into Green Bay, they're going to get beat in the playoffs.
But right now, Donnie, which is interesting, they would get the home field advantage.
Yes, that's was the point I'm making here. There's a lot of football. If you're saying if they played right now and the Eagles were home field, yes, because that's a huge advantage. The Eagles are a really good team, and they play really well at home. But I'm just waiting to see it come down the line. Because the Eagles have a tough schedule coming up. Can they get to 10 or 11 wins? Looks like they probably can do it now. And you could throw a haymaker at the division next week if you beat Washington at home and send everybody. And again, if Zeke goes out on his 6-game suspension, everything's going to open up with that clear picture. But I get that feeling like, if Green Bay comes into Philadelphia, it'd be a really tough game. If you have to go down to Atlanta, it's that triumvirate there, Green Bay, Atlanta, and the Eagles. I think you can make a case for all 3 of those. Whoever has the home field is going to win the NFC.
One thing I'll say about the Eagles, and then we'll move on. I think Mike Sealski, I don't know if you saw it, Donnie, on the pregame show, actually on Eagles or on Philly Sports Talk, way before the game started. He made a comment that I thought about, and I said, you know what? He's so right. I mean, I never really thought about it like this, but you ever notice like when a team wins the NFC or they win the Super Bowl, a lot of things go right for them, in their division. You look at this division right now. The Giants are an absolute dumpster fire. They're not coming back.
Which again, we haven't liked the Giants, but that doesn't say like they weren't at least an 8-8 team coming in this season. Yep, now they're way below it. Go ahead.
And they're a team that you don't, worry about. Yes. Second of all, the Redskins look okay, but you beat them already in Washington. And then you have the Cowboys, who are your competition. They're not playing well. They have a defense that can't get off the field, and their number one player is going to be out the next 6 games.
And they're 2-3.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like, they're 4-1 and Zeke's going on suspension. Let's just, hold it up. No, they're 2-3, which brings me back to those points where the Cowboys made the past couple of years when Tony Romo would go down. They'd be like, well, the division stinks. But yet the Cowboys would be like 2-7. Like, well, we can still run the table when Romo gets back. I mean, come on, man. Dallas is done.
And what's great about it is, Donnie, the Vikings look bothered. I mean, they're going to have a tough season without Dalvin Cook at this point and their quarterback problems. There's some teams that are also starting to go away. And what's great about it, Donnie, is the Falcons and Panthers will battle it out and extend a whole lot. So it's starting to set up for this team. I'm not jumping out and saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but I'm enjoying what I'm seeing from this team. They're going in and winning games like this, which last year, 2 years ago, they wouldn't have done. If Wentz doesn't learn to slide, he won't make it to the season. He usually doesn't.
I don't like that. He was a little bit aggressive last night, and you see how quickly a season can change, Jeff. How about when he got sacked, I believe, in the first quarter, when his arm bent like Gumby? Like, it can end that quick in the NFL, which is why we always in Philadelphia, we expect the worst out of every situation.
Just want to quell anyone's fears. He doesn't really ever get hit anymore, mostly. Last night, we have to remember Lane Johnson did not play, and that's huge on the right side. I think we see how important he is in the game. Wisniewski played well when he's in there. He does need to not take at the goal line, him taking on players. He's a tough kid though, really tough kid. I mean, I think that's one thing you got a lot love and admire about the kid. He's real tough. I mean, he's not gonna. He's not going to worry about going at someone. But I agree, Rob. Definitely needs to learn to slide, which I think he will. 10 days off now, Donnie. They don't go on the road for many weeks.
39 days till their next road game.
Really sitting in a great spot right now for this team. So it's exciting time. Donnie, let's get into college football. And, guys, feel free to send in any games you want us to talk about. Let's go through today's games, Donnie, and then we'll get to Saturday. We'll kind of rapid fire. Syracuse, 109-110. Syracuse hosting Clemson. Clemson 23.5, total 57.5. This one opened 21. Clemson clearly getting bet up here. Donnie, Syracuse, they've been kind of an interesting team this year. They haven't been scoring a ton like they usually do. They're just hanging in the 20s every game. And this is against defenses like NC State and Pittsburgh and Middle Tennessee State and teams like that. They did put 41-50 on Central Michigan and Central Connecticut State, but overall this offense hasn't really rolled like normal. Now they face a defense that we know is possibly one of the best in the country. Kelly Bryant's going to be in there healthy again. Last year, 54-0, Donnie. I believe that, though, was without Eric Dungy. Does that make any difference here? With the way Syracuse has played this year, they just don't look like that team that's going to be able to, kind of, if they're down 31, put up 10 late points and cover. They're just kind of stuck in neutral right now, mostly. I can't bet Syracuse here.
No, it's hard. It's I don't know if it's so much about betting Syracuse, Jeff. Here, it's fading Clemson. You always try to find weak spots there. There was looks like they were going to cover, not going to cover last week. Ended up not covering against a better Wake Forest team than I believe than what Syracuse is. But the one thing I do like about Syracuse, Jeff, if you looked at their schedule, Central Michigan, obviously take the wins out of there, but LSU step up in class, 35-26, played with them there. NC State step up in class, 33-25, played with them there, beat Pittsburgh. It's one of those teams that you're getting over 21 points and it's on the road. But Clemson's a team, Jeff, I haven't really had that great of a feel with over the past couple years because they're used to the big spot. And you say to yourself saying, all right, they're going to go on the road. Syracuse isn't that good, but they're playing competitive football, and they don't have to just win the game, not by 7, 14, 21, basically by 4 touchdowns on the road, quarterback a little bit banged up. Is it one of those games, Jeff, where Clemson's up, 21 points late, and they say, all right, man, get Kelly Bryant again. Yes, yep, and let's not get hurt, and, let's just move on to the next week. I can't bet this game either way. If you said, Don, you have to pick a play. I actually would take Clemson, Jeff, with the 23.5, or excuse me, the Syracuse Orange with the 23.5 at home.
Yeah, they did it last week. They allowed Wake Forest to hang around and ended up not covering that game. Again, I'm not a big I'm not a big Syracuse guy. I don't think they hang in this game. It'll be close. I think they win by like 24 personally, but we'll see what happens. What the fuck? Tons of value tonight in NBA. Nobody's mentioning shit. Well, first of all, it's the last night of preseason, and second of all, I talk exquisitely about the NBA. But again, I'll have to explain this for the 8,000th time. I have a system. I don't talk about the NBA until about a half an hour before the game. The system is all about line movement. As far as talking about it, unfortunately, we're just not going to talk about a lot of preseason NBA on here. I'll give out plays on the closing line at 6. I'll go in the chat box to give them out. But Donnie, on the last day of preseason, it's just hard to get a feel for it, isn't it?
No, hard to get a feel. It's hard to get a feel for NBA at any point, at any moment of time, in any game for me.
I'll say this yet again: if you're betting the NBA strictly on like teams,
the team is better.
What player's going to show up tonight or trends. I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm not going to ever say it to anyone, but I just don't know if you're going to attack the NBA the right way. I don't think there's much money to be made betting it like that. You really have to look outside of the box of the NBA and really just attack numbers as opposed to attacking the teams, let's say. So that's what I would do. But again, I can't tell anyone how to bet. No. As far as a good question here by I didn't see who asked it, but you look at the other game tonight, Donnie. Washington State and California. Really, Washington State getting bet up significantly here, Donnie. It was 15 yesterday. Washington State all the way up to 16.5. Public really jumping on the Wazoo Cougars here. Someone mentioned about the air quality, and what are my thoughts on that? Interestingly enough, last year, Washington State, that area had, and they actually dealt with them this year as well. Vig Simon was telling me that they've been dealing with some wildfires up there, none to the level of ones in California, but these wildfires aren't far off from Berkeley. I'm reading the weather report saying that there's areas smoke and haze are possible, reducing visibility. Winds are 10.
Did you see the Raiders, Jeff, at practice wearing smocks and had to cut both practices short?
No, I didn't see that. Wow.
How about that, man?
That's interesting. But yeah, it definitely could. It definitely could affect. I think both teams will be affected by it, though. But in Washington, they've dealt with it. It's interesting. It's really an interesting caveat in this game. It's terrible what I'm seeing. Fire, Donnie, is one of those things where, I mean, what do you say about it? I mean,
you don't stop it. Yeah. I mean, just hope it burns out or you get some luck with the changing wind pattern or some rain in there. But also, Jeff, coming up across the wire, they have that emergency contingency plan on the Oakland Raiders football game where they can move it down to Santa Clara or even to San Diego. Get that. Imagine if San Diego, Jeff, played in San Diego at Qualcomm. Be hilarious.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. Fire, it's like water. I mean, you just can't really get in the way of water. I mean, if there's a flood, I mean, we're not going to stop it. I mean, it's fire. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, you can try to stop fire, but wind and just whatever, dust and also, and it's dry out there too. So, I mean, it's just like, it's bad. I hope if anyone's in that area, I mean, motto. I mean, I feel for you. But yeah, as far as the game itself, Donnie, we'll cap it as if the weather will be okay. I mentioned earlier on the I think it was your show, the closing line. I like Washington State a lot at 13.5. I got to tell you,
we said that, Jeff, when we were on the show, we said it was 13.5 that day. And the point was, if you like the game, take it now because it's more likely to hit 14.5, 15.5 than it is to go to 9.5. So we did have that on there.
Sure. I will say this, though. Actually, at 16.5, I still actually kind of like it. I'll be honest. I think Washington State's just a team that will really do what they want to do against Cal. The problem with Cal is they can't stop the pass. And that's made evident over the last couple of years. They just can't stop the pass. I mean, they're 108th in passing defense. They're giving up 265 yards a game. And what does Washington State do, Donnie? They're back to throwing the football. They're back to air raid offense yet again. And Cal's really one-dimensional offensive team. They can't run the ball. And against I believe number 7 pass defense in the country, Washington State, I think they're again going to have real trouble moving the football. I think this is akin, honestly, Donnie, to last week. I don't know if they'll be held to 7 points, but I could see this one like 41-14, something like that. I just don't think this Cal team's, when you look at it on the surface, you kind of say to yourself, well, Washington State's kind of primed for a letdown. They've only been on the road once and whatever. But the truth of the matter is, I think we hear every week that they're not going to cover. They're not going to do it. Am I crazy about laying numbers like this with them? No, but I think with the ever-changing market that we're in here, the number's going to move. Washington State's getting better and better. And we saw last week, Cal's had major trouble over the last 2 weeks stopping good offenses. And they're very one-dimensional on offense. For me, I think Washington State wins like 41-13, 41-17, something like that.
Yeah, no, if I'm betting this game, which I'm not, it's Washington State or nobody. I can't really build a case for California, Jeff, because when you look at teams the way they are, you're trying to build a new foundation in Cal. Washington State's obviously a much higher class football team, and if you take a look to see how California actually goes up against those squads, USC decent, hung around 30-20, but then you take a look at Oregon when Oregon was somewhat healthier, 45-24. Then you look at Washington, another step up in class, 38-7. So, I mean, just dropped both ways. And you look at overall at Washington State, how they're going to play, 52-23 over in Oregon State, Nevada 45-7, Oregon when they were a little bit down 33-10. So they have the hammer and can put you away, and they can do it multiple ways. If you're going to say Cal's going to come in this game and not really be able to throw the football, run the football effectively, and you're just going to throw it out there, Washington State should be able to win. I actually don't like the 16.5 as much, Jeff, as I think Washington State, I haven't looked at the first half line, but I imagine it's going to be less than 10. I easily see Jeff Washington State up double digits at the half. I'd rather bet the first half when it's full go. I think Washington State's clearly the better football team, and they'll take control right away.
Washington State giving up 3.74 yards a carry, 41st in the country. Last 2 games, Donnie, for Cal against the running the football, 8 yards and 40 yards. 48 yards over the last 2 games in college.
Yeah. And it's 9.5 that first half, Jeff. I'll take the first half minus 9.5. They'll be up double digits at the half there.
Yeah, the only concern on the first half is that weather problem. Is that going to be an issue here? But yeah, I think they roll here. I think Washington State keeps it going. BMOC, Gabe is taking Cal money line. Thoughts?
Is that's really?
I don't think there's any way they lose.
The money line on that bad boy. It is
pretty high,
plus 588 at Chris, plus 560 at BetOnline. Good for him, man. Jeez.
Hey, listen, I'll root for him. If Washington State's going to lose, at least he'll make something out of it. And we'll be on the air, him and I. We'll be talking college football later. So,
God damn it,
they're already down 14-3. That'll be interesting. Can you guys?
By the way, quick thing on Gabe's night show. What really makes me laugh? What you do with Gabe, which is, and I hope you do it again multiple times tonight. Gabe won't be paying attention, and you'll just make it up and be like, "Man, Ace Farmer, settle down in there. What's he saying in there? Hold on." And then oh, you got to calm down in there. You got to calm down in there. I love it. I hope you do it to him multiple times tonight. Where I can't even believe this guy's saying that, Gabe. What's he saying in there?
Last night I was like, settle down, Bruce Chad. And he goes, what? What Bruce Chad said?
Yes, that was one of them. Yes. What?
Funny.
Yeah.
Let's get to the rest of the card here. We'll take questions. First one, Northwestern Maryland out of the gate here, says David. Is that David that said that? Who said that?
Which game?
David H. Northwestern and Maryland. Right out of the gate, 115, 160. Northwestern -3. Total 49.5. This one's been bet down for 53.5. Kasim Hill's out. Pigram's out. Remember, Maryland's been having some issues at quarterback. I believe they had a bye last week, if I'm correct. Yes, they had a bye. No, they didn't. They basically had a bye. They lost 62-14 to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Donnie, in that game, don't look at it. Take a guess at how many yards Maryland had combined. They lost 62-14. Rushing, passing combined.
I'm going to say combined 220.
You were way off. 66 yards.
That's it. So, yeah, that doesn't bode well for Nebraska this weekend, I guess, playing Ohio State. Jesus, is that bad? Oh
yes. God. 50 yards on the ground and 16 through the air.
And then defensive-wise, Jeff, 281 on the ground and 303 in the air. I should have watched that film again. My goodness.
584 yards to 66. So you can see why they won 62-14. Just just something that really wasn't talked about, but an absolute domination last week. I missed the yardage in this amount. I mean, that's amazing. Really is. Northwestern.
Who the hell's going to score in this game then? Who's last? That's the next point, Jeff. 59. It opens up at Chris. It's down to 49.5. Like, I've watched Northwestern play football, and I've watched Maryland. Maryland looked much better in the previous weeks, but I guess that step up in defense. Say what you will, Northwestern does have an okay defense. Their offense under Thorson, I want to poke my eyes out. I don't see this as a track meet, Jeff. That's not a bad play. I mean, obviously you missed the line if it really opened at 59. I'm showing Pinnacle at 51.5, so probably more likely in the low 50s. I don't see a lot of scoring here, Jeff, honestly.
I actually like Northwestern in this game. I got to be honest. You look at the last couple of weeks with NW. Had a tough game, a hard-fought game, though, against Wisconsin. They win that game out of Camp Randall. Struggled against Penn State, though. I didn't see it as a blowout as some. I thought they were a little bit more in that game than I thought. I think going on the road at Maryland, the team that's really broken down right now, how they beat Minnesota, I'm not sure, in Minnesota. I think you're right, though. 51.5 looks pretty nice here for an under. I agree with you. Actually, it's down to 49.5. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is down. That's what I mean. Yeah.
I kind of want to take Northwestern, though. I'll be interested to see if we can get 2.5 with this number or where this one goes. Does it go up to 3.5? So yeah, that's interesting. I'd like to see where that goes. But I kind of like Northwestern here. They need a game like this after two tough games against Wisconsin and Penn State. A team in Maryland.
That's it's a good point you bring up, Jeff, that some people just try to skate over and say, oh boy, man, Northwestern, 2 straight weeks they look bad at this. I mean, you want to talk about step up in competition to step down. There's something to be said about fighting the Wisconsins and the Penn States of the world, and then you get Maryland. Not to say you take a deep breath, but all of a sudden you hand the football off and like, oh damn, we just got 7 yards. You know what I mean? There's something to be said about that. Yeah.
I actually have an interesting question, and I want to pose this to Rich Banks. And if you don't want to do it, I understand. It's totally fine. And I'm not just picking you. I just know you bet the NBA, so I'd be curious to know how it would work. Donnie, I'm making and I don't want any money involved. It's just surely for my research. This is not for – I don't have any interest in betting against you, or I just know you bet the NBA, so I'm asking if you want to do something. I'm curious, Donnie, to bet my system – against Rich Banks and see how it works throughout the year.
No, you know what I actually want to do, Jeff? I like what you're saying there, but I want to see if Zach or somebody at SBR can do an NBA contest, or maybe they're doing it similar to what we do in the NBA, what we do in Major League Baseball. No, I would actually like to be in that. And look, because you know me, Jeff, I don't watch day-to-day NBA. I know who's on teams. I know who the good teams are, but I see what you're saying there because my whole philosophy on the NBA is I don't see a decided edge. I want to see somebody go October all the way through the NBA Finals. Like, yo, Donnie, 61% plus 80 units of profit. I want to see it.
I firmly believe, Donnie, that if I'll do it myself, but I believe that the system that I use would be very effective.
I want to see. Let's do it. I will get in this NBA competition if it's out there. I'll do it.
We'll talk to Zach and surely get that going.
I want it.
And Guan White's used the system that I use. I've given him plenty of games. It's a legit one. It works. And I'd be interested to go against other people to see, because I want to go against someone that actually bets NBA on the factors of, situations and, beat the big man contest. There we go. Beat the system. We have an idea here, Donnie, don't we?
Yeah, no, you're right. I like it. I beat the system. Yes, there you go. Love it.
Yeah, I think we should try that. Rich has disappeared. I don't know where he went, but maybe he can be in it too. I know he bets NBA. That would be interesting, and maybe we can
system. Yes,
yeah, I think we should try that. Yes, and I copyright that. Beat the big man. It's copyrighted. By the way, Martricia Gilbert says Syracuse at the point. She agrees with you, Donnie. I mean, the back door will be open, I would think. I just get a weird feeling this one's like 45-10. And
which what are you talking about? What, Washington State?
Syracuse. There he is. So, Rich, are you interested? Would you want to do that? I'd be interested to do it because you've said up before that you're very good at NBA. So I'd like to. Okay, well, Jay Peach, when whoever. Any of you want to get involved, feel free. I'm highly interested in Jay Peach. You've come in here and made plenty of predictions, and We'll see. You seem like a guy that's open to give out your plays. So I'm interested. I'm going to talk to Zach later today and see if we can get that going. That would be a fun. And Donnie, what I could do is every day give out my picks live on the air and be like this or whatever. We'll figure it out. Let's get that going. We'll work on that. Donnie, let's move on. Did you write any of the games down that people asked about? Because I didn't.
No, we're going to blast through there. We don't have enough time to get the majority of them. So now if you're out there asking on the live chat here, just go ahead. We'll rip right through and try to give a couple.
Yeah, throw your games out, whatever you want. I think someone said TCU. TCU, Donnie, is rolling up the draft or the ranking boards here.
That's my boys.
TCU on the road, 12 o'clock in Manhattan. This is a tough spot for the Horned Frogs, Donnie, and they're being bet here. Donnie, I just am not that interested in Texas Christian as a favorite. 6-17 over the last 23 overall. 0-7 in their last 7 as a home or a road favorite of 3.5 to 10 points. I'm not that high on this one, Donnie. I kind of like Kansas State here. This is a game where Bill Snyder, we haven't heard much about Kansas State this year.
Yeah.
But they're putting up some points. They played great defensively. I think this is a drag-out, slobber-knocker type of game here.
Little rain in the forecast, too. Yeah, adds into it. Over-under now, Jeff. Looks like Pinnacle opened up 52. Chris opened up a little bit higher. Now that's lower in the 50s. So, yeah, they're anticipating not a lot of offense, but we've seen the way K-State plays football, Jeff. Give me a couple read option plays. Let me make some plays with my feet. 14-7, 24-17. I could see it being like that, sure.
Yeah, I think you really got to be concerned on the road here. I mean, TCU's kind of just been dealing with teams, rolling teams, but West Virginia kind of put some scare back in them in that game late, and was in the possibility to maybe tie that one. So for me, I kind of want to lean with the home dog here. I really like this play. Might look into a little bit more, and the public's pounding TCU here. What else do we got here? West Virginia total. Donnie, what do you have? You have anything on that one?
The West Virginia total? Let me see.
Yeah, they play Texas Tech.
Oh, hi. Wasn't that one in the mid-70s? Let me see here.
74.5.
Yeah, there you go. Let Babe whips. All right, Texas Tech, West Virginia, over-under opened up at 79 at Pinnacle, 80 at Chris. Now down to 72.5. How about that?
Big move.
It was a big move, man.
You got anything on it?
I don't have anything on that game. I didn't really pay too much attention to those bigger games. I got a couple vested in the smaller games, but I don't have much on that Texas Tech game. Now, if you're looking at that game and you're saying to yourself blind, you just take the over in that football game, Texas Tech, right? I mean, Texas Tech and West Virginia are going to force the issue and go up tempo in this game. Anytime you have Texas Tech in any ball game, and you're looking at 72. When's the last time, even a Texas Tech had a line of 61? Does it even happen?
No.
That's their normal line out there. So, yeah, if you're asking me 12 o'clock, the East Coast is supposed to warm up again this weekend. And if you're taking unders in Texas Tech games and you win it, congratulations. You just played contrarian, but the style of play between both of these teams is not conducive to an under 72. If the game ended up, Jeff, 41-38, would it be the most shocking thing in the world? No. That's what I would anticipate it being, right?
I want everyone to take a look at the camera right now and look at what I'm going to say to you. Throughout college football, I'm in the win. I'm in the green, Donnie. I've done great on the buffet. Didn't have a great week with Low Shack, but overall, been very good. This game flies over the total. That's all I'm going to say. Stop overthinking things here.
But Jeff, hold on, Jeff. Sharp.
I don't give a fuck about sharp money.
Jeff,
Motherfuck sharps.
Jeff, I'll bring on some Vegas experts on here and tell you the sharps got that number.
And I'll battle rap him too. I could care less, man.
Sharps took a piece of it, baby.
Fuck do I care about sharps?
What else we got here? Navy, Memphis, Jeff, Dave Danders, and somebody said one before that. Let's get to the one before that. Hold on there. Not Memphis, BYU. Who was asking? Oh, Don, can we please break down NC State minus 10.5 at Pitt from Koji?
Yeah, I'm not looking
quarterback change at Pitt. I don't know how. Put it this way: how do you build a case for Pitt, Jeff? I mean, I already didn't like their quarterback situation as is. Now they're down a quarterback, and it just seems to me. Now, look, I see the line, right? 10, 10.5, whatever it is. I don't think NC State still gets any respect. I don't, and I don't think, like you said. Well, wait a second, 10 on the road with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh hasn't been that impressive to me, but NC State is not getting that. Like, they're a really good team that can put it on you. And Pittsburgh, to me, Jeff, not that good of a football team.
No, and I actually like Ben DiNucci, the backup quarterback. He's actually pretty decent, but the big thing here is that defensive line for NC State. I mean, they're really good. They actually had a couple extra days to relish in that big win against Louisville, so I think that's kind of out of their system. But for me, Donnie, letdowns are all about coaching, all about your head coach. I'm not a big Dave Doran guy, to be honest. I wonder about their thinking pattern in this game, but you're right. I mean, really poor defense, Pittsburgh, a team that just Kansas City tries to be and is the same team every year. This year, though, they don't have a quarterback. They don't have a high-level running back that can really do it like James Conner did. So for me, I agree with you. I don't think they're getting a ton of respect. As far as me and Teddy covers debating, I'm not sure that would be that interesting. I mean, Teddy looks at sports betting differently than I do. A lot of guys look at power rankings. I've never looked at a power ranking. I don't look at magazines really at all. I don't care about in college sports. I don't care at all about line moves. I mean, I don't think that would be that interesting, really. Paul Howard and I, that might be interesting, but Teddy just gambles differently than I do, which is fine. I mean, we all have our ways of betting. Teddy's been doing it a long time, and I don't agree with how he bets, but he probably doesn't agree how I bet. Most bettors love power rankings. I think sharps are absolutely useless. They don't do anything for me. So I don't much care about that. But Teddy's doing his thing. I have nothing bad to say about him. He's been doing it a lot longer than I have. So, Donnie, you would agree. I mean, we gamble totally different, him and I.
Like people that watch out there, like me and Teddy go head to head on a lot of subjects.
Sure.
And that's what makes it fun. There's no disrespect going on. Like if Jeff said, "Oh, Jeff, I want to see you and Teddy like go at it." Like Jeff's not going at it because he doesn't like Teddy. It's just a differential point of view. It'd be fun. You know what actually would be a good time is somehow in one of these closing lines, like, I would be like a moderator, not to say that you guys would be angry at each other, but it would be fun to see, like, because I know you call me hard-headed all the time. I call you hard-headed. I know how to get under your skin. You know how to get under mine. It's a lot of fun, and that's why the show works there. But it would be fun to get some outside stuff. They're like, hey, we're going to have a debate on these topics, and, the chat box would be like, all right, who's going to be the winner and who's going to be the loser? It would be fun maybe to later time.
Listen, I mean, there are guys that are way smarter than me. Like intellectually, I think Ed Fang's way smarter than me. I mean, I'm not going to ever say that he's not. But here's how life works, Donnie. If we were talking about physics, Ed Fang would crush me because I don't know shit about physics. But if you said to me, hey, debate Ed Fang about playing CeeLo, I could probably dominate him. It's really all about who you are as a person. I mean, I'm more or less, I look at gambling a little bit different than others. I look at it pretty straightforward. I think this team's better than this team, and as far as, just researching and stuff, I think players and stuff are important in college. But yeah, we just bet differently. A lot of people care about Sharp's opinion. I don't know who Sharps are, and I don't really care anyway. Big Man and Donnie, you guys showed each other's houses. No,
we're on the air so much and everything. It's hard. I mean, we don't live as close as you would think.
We basically hang out though. Like we're going to the
halfway. Yes, we meet halfway at sporting events is what me and the Big Man do, and we will be there regardless or not. Like I have tickets, that sell or don't sell, but we already made a connection, me and Jeff, that one way or another, I'll certainly be at I have season tickets. I've had them for 20 years, the Eagles, but obviously now that tickets are for sale, they sell because I'm sitting with you guys most of Sunday afternoons. But Monday Night Football, I look forward to it all year long, just because I said that's the one game I'm probably going to go to. And I was, Jeff was talking to me last night saying, hey, I can scoop some tickets. We should get down there. And the more I thought about it, I have two options to go to this game, and I will be at the game. It would be cool, if Jeff scooped those tickets already and I sit right next to him. We'll have a blast at the game as we always do. So it'll be a lot of fun.
First time I ever met Donnie Wright said was that an Eagles
Skins game, and they lost.
Yeah, I remember that game to a T. Sure.
Bang my head again. It's a game that got Chip Kelly fired, actually. So yeah, memorable.
But no, for the record, Donnie Wright said our friends are outside of here. Yeah. We chill plenty. We
wouldn't be able to do shows this frequently together if we generally didn't have a friendship, because we would beat each other up and be like, look, man, I'm not going on with Jeff again. This is ridiculous.
This fucking guy, I can't stand him. He's so fucking hard-headed.
Every time he goes on the air, he just says something. He gets me fired up. He doesn't back me up in the chat box. He's a non-loyal guy.
Yeah. By the way, for anyone interested, if you're in the Philadelphia area, coming up this winter, you ever want to chill with me and Donnie? Let us know. We'll be I'll be at Temple every home game. I'll be out in North Philadelphia at the games. Temple's going to be good.
And it ain't like there's not enough seats where we can fit everybody in the chat box in there easily.
Well, it might be a little bit different this year. They're supposed to be a lot better. We got Wichita State coming to the Leah course. We got some big games coming up. I'm excited about this year with Temple basketball. Donnie, I'm predicting top 25 at some point.
Okay. A little shiz action out there, huh? Let's do it.
Shiz Austin, baby. The best. I love this team. I'm excited. Donnie, let's keep it going. Let's just, rapid fire. And guys, again, as you know, I'm on with Gabe Renzi tonight. We'll go over plenty of games. I'm on with Peter Loshak in the morning. We'll go over plenty of games. So, again, this show, we have so much to do. We just try to hit them. But we hit both games tonight. Donnie, we talked about Navy-Memphis. That total has dropped as well, down to 71.
Is there any weather or anything in that Navy-Memphis game or no?
Oh, by the way, for all the people that are talking about totals dropping significantly, Sharps have bet unders in every Tulsa game this year.
Yeah. And by the way, Jeff, I like to preface that by saying Sharps hammered the Tulsa under last week to drop it to 10 points, and one team covered that over in the first half alone, and the game ended up damn near I think it ended up in the 90s. So when you ever see these big line drops and you want to go ahead and get on board and knock these unders, the same thing, Jeff, when I took the ECU South Florida game was 75. I loved it. Sharps just bought it down at game time to 71. They destroyed that thing. So money line and movement, make your decision, like your line, and stick with it, because I always say it's 50-50. Ooh, chase the steam and won. Next game, ooh, chase the steam and lost. Don't cap your life like that, man. Don't do it.
Yeah, by the way, Donnie, someone's saying we need to do a show from one of our houses. I'll take this opportunity to mention to you, Donnie, after the show today, I'm actually heading down to South Philadelphia to take a look at a house.
Where are you going? Where are we looking today?
Sartain and Shunk, right on the corner. 2602 Sartain. So
Big man needs to get to the city. Big man gets to the city.
If I get to the city, we might do shows every day from my because Donnie, the house that I look to get, I'm going to turn it into like a studio. I'm going to put the black studio shit up and all that kind of stuff. You're not just going to hang the Albanian flag behind you and just call it a studio? No, I'm actually I'm having Amish make shelves for me right now. That's why that's just temporary. I got the Amish building me a couple shelves. No, that would be all. If you came a lot closer. I mean, if people don't know the distance there, Jeff, what are you about? Maybe an hour outside of Philadelphia, somewhere in that range? Yeah, I live about an hour from the city. Yeah, but in South Philly, I mean, right over the bridge. So, that would be perfect, wouldn't it? Plus, I'll be right back to the gutter again. Crying in the streets. Looking a little skinny, big man. Come on, Ace Farmer, stop. You're making me blush. I don't know, a couple pounds. I mean, I'm working it. Yep. But I appreciate the kind words. Thank you. Might be my camera. So yeah, that could be interesting, Donnie, down the road. Maybe that'll all work out. Donnie, this is an interesting game, and I want to get your opinion on this before we wrap it up. Have you listened to the Bet Buffet yet? I have not this week, no. Okay. So Boise, San Diego State, that was one of my games. And the line we got was 7. I want you to take a guess. What do you think I bet in that game? Boise State, San Diego State, the line is 7. I mean, I know you like 7. Yeah. It was 7. So it looks like Chris got it 6, 6.5, 6.5. I mean, I'm going to say, just because I know you like them, that you will like San Diego State. Incorrect. I took Boise. Yes. See, that's what I like. See, now people out there that Jeff is actually, I'm grinding what is it? Iron sharpens iron or whatever. So now I'm getting the Jeff where he can now go against the teams that he likes for the sake of money. I love it, Jeff. I love it. Well, yeah. I mean, I just really like Boise in this spot. I think, as we've talked about before in sports betting, you have to be willing to, change things up and buy low on teams. And I think you have a good buy low opportunity here on Boise. Even after last week in their domination of BYU, they're still not getting much respect here. I mean, it's, you're a touchdown underdog at San Diego State. Now, I know SDSU has actually owned this conference and owned them over the years, but you look at the fact that The one thing SDSU does really well, Donnie, is run the football with Juwan Washington and Rashard Penny. Boise State, 19th against the run in the country. I think they're going to make Christian Chapman beat them. I don't know if he can do that. I really don't. I think this game comes down to the wire. I think what I liked last week about Boise was they established a run game. They established Madison. They were able to kind of get him going. I think he had 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Brett Rippon kind of got some confidence back. He's struggled a little bit this year, but he's had injuries. He's just been dealing with a lot. I think a full game back, kind of getting into the swing of things, throwing a touchdown. And I also, Donnie, here's the big question on San Diego State. Do I think they're a good defense? Yes. Have I been impressed? Yes. Have they faced a good quarterback yet?
San Diego State?
I don't really see one on this schedule. I mean, Arizona State's run the ball a lot. Stanford runs the ball a lot. Air Force doesn't throw the ball at all.
Air Force doesn't pass the ball. And then you had, mixed bag when you get Northern Illinois, And
UNLV. I mean, Rippon is a good quarterback. This could be a game where he kind of picks them apart in the secondary. Their secondary does have some problems. No Calvin Munson back there. No DeMonte Casey anymore. I like this spot for Boise. Now, I could get egg on my face and look real stupid here and say, why did you bet against the Aztec boys? But, and I also, Donnie, other than UNLV, where's the blowout on the schedule? Do you see any? I don't.
No. It's funny that you say that because aren't you almost waiting for that, like for them to dig in with the 41-10 game? You're almost waiting for it, but it doesn't seem like you're getting that yet.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the blowouts against UNLV in a tough situation, and UC Davis, the Aggies, which I don't count.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than that, they've been in close games. So I like the Broncos here. I got them at 7. It's down to 6. That could prove costly, getting the 7. But yeah, I think you're right. DT Doug's Air Force gave them a fight. Yeah, Northern Illinois gave them a fight. Arizona State was in that football game. I mean, Stanford, who knows what happens there? That was a tough game. So I think this is a good game for Boise, kind of get back into the swing of things in Boise or in San Diego here against Boise. Let's do one or two more, Don, and then we'll wrap it up. I think Michigan State's in a real tough spot here, Donnie, on the road against Minnesota. Minnesota's kind of been average this year. They're kind of going through growing pains of having a new coach, a new quarterback. So we talk about spots, Donnie. We talked about it earlier this year with Georgia in a great spot against Mississippi State. I think Minnesota's in a real good spot here against the Spartans. Spartans off a huge win, a really probably the biggest win in the last couple of years for that program. The truth of the matter is they're 0-6 in their last 6 as a road favorite, 7-14 in the last 21 overall as a favorite, though they have covered 3 this year. I just think the Minnesota team really wears them down. This will be a low-scoring game. It wouldn't surprise me to see Rodney Smith and Shannon Brooks kind of own the day in this game. This is just a tough spot for Michigan State here on the road.
Yeah, I think Michigan State, getting that, opening up at 3, now sitting at 4. A lot of people are going to see that, like, hey, they went in and beat Michigan. They're 4-1. They're back. And you look at Minnesota, you're like, well, who's Minnesota? They lost to Maryland. They lost to Purdue and get all that. Little bit different type of environment here that you're going to be getting because obviously you do have that come down where their big game of the year, Michigan State, is they want to beat Michigan. They beat Michigan. They beat Michigan in the rain. If that game maybe has no rain in the game, might have turned out a little bit differently there, but certainly coming in a little bit hot. I know Michigan State's a little bit banged up in this football game, but I like to reach and take teams that are playing at home, getting some points in this one. I can very easily see this one coming down to the wire, 7 points or less, either one of these football teams. Similar styles, too. I like to say styles make fights. You're going to want to run with your quarterback a little bit, short passing game, keep the ball on the ground, which tends to lead to a lower scoring game, which, Jeff, a 40 in college football is being hung right up on there. Wouldn't even be surprised, Jeff, to see that dip into the 39.5 range, almost like an NFL type game. I agree with you here. It would be Minnesota for me, just looking from an underdog role because, again, you're getting a team. So wait a second, Donnie. They beat Iowa 17-10. Iowa almost beat Penn State. Wait, they went in the big house and knocked off a top 10 team. And you ask yourself, say, well, why is the line opening up at 3 here when they lost to Purdue and lost to Maryland?
Right.
Pause.
Yeah, and this is, letdowns are all about coaching sometimes, but in this spot, you used to have a team off a huge win. Someone's mentioned about UC Davis's basketball program, how it's good and their football program isn't. 2014-15, Donnie, UC Davis was they were my golden team. I made so much money with Corey Hawkins and that team. I mean, I loved that team. 25-7 that year. They were just ATS machines. Them and IPFW that year were just beautiful. Mm-hmm. Oregon State, Colorado, a lot of people talking about that one. And then we'll wrap it up here. You know, Donnie, I'm a big fan of backing a team off of a coaching change. You know, you look at this new
Mike
coach.
Price.
Yeah, that worked perfectly, didn't it? You know, and Corey Hall, the coach coming in here, says he wants to pump life and breathe life back in to the Oregon State football program. Those are great words and all. But the problem you have with Oregon State here that you didn't have with UTEP is UTEP at least had their team intact. Like they had no real injuries to speak of. Their backup was actually better than their regular quarterback. This Oregon State team's in a tough conference with little to nothing on the offensive side. And I know they covered last week, but Ryan Null's the key. If Ryan Null plays in this game, which according to Hall, Ryan Null is making progress. He looks good. He'll go perform. He'll be the wrecking Null, as they say. He had a left ankle sprain, so it's not a terribly bad injury. I actually kind of want to go with Oregon State here. I'm a big fan of backing teams off of a coaching change. They're at home here. Am I going to give it out? No, but I've talked about Colorado. I'm not a big fan of Colorado. I think Montez is lost at quarterback. I don't think he has any idea what he's doing. But you look at this number, Donnie, at 12.5 opener, I liked it. Under double digits, it's kind of got away from me a little bit. At 12 or 11.5 or something, I'd maybe back Oregon State, but I got a feeling a lot of this Oregon State money is going to go right back to the books.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if you look at these spread totals out there, spread ticket wise, 80-20 switch here. 80% coming in here on Colorado. Line opens up, Jeff, 12.5 across the board. Pinnacle sitting at 10. Chris 9.5. Sportsbook.com -10. So if you're looking contrarian, which I like to look, that is certainly a contrarian option right there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are definitely buying into the coaching change here. The problem with coaching changes is you have to look at the personnel also. I like Null, but Colorado, you have to look at their run defense and ask yourself, can they stop Ryan Null? Let's quickly look at that, and then we'll get going here. Colorado, where are they at here? They're not in the top 50, so that's probably not good. Yeah, I mean, 12, I like it. 9.5, I'm not as interested. Yeah. So I'll pass on that one. But taking money all week, public dogs usually don't win. Especially ones that are shitty. Yeah. Colorado has plenty of playmakers. They should be able to get it done here, but I'm kind of all over this one with this one. Donnie, we'll wrap it up here. Keep in mind, Donnie will be on tonight on the closing line. He'll go over it. We totally forgot to talk about Yankees. What a sin, Donnie.
We'll hit that one up there. Matt Holt will be on. Drew Martin will be on. So we'll have some fun. We'll talk about tonight's games a little bit more as well. Pick out a 5-pack in the NCAA. We'll also go over some interesting, stuff going on in the NFL right now that we haven't been able to touch on. But again, Thursdays on the right side of campus, we hit NFL. Fridays, we're going to talk about that Thursday night game, go over college football. Time goes fast, Jeff, especially late in the week when, early in the week, you don't want to give out too much because you don't have too much. Now that we're right in that wheelhouse, I know, Jeff, you're going to be on tomorrow, an hour again with Peter Loshek in the morning, 11 a.m. Eastern time on the closing line college football edition. And you'll be hitting every single one of these football games again. So it's fun. I love it. I love Friday football day, man.
Yeah, as far as quickly, I love Houston tonight in that game. Tanaka has terrible numbers against Houston. Keuchel's been fantastic at home. It's a big number, but I think Houston, Yankees coming off that huge win. Astros have kind of just been sitting back. I really like Houston tonight in this game. So there you go. Shows you I'm not a fucking homer.
Yeah, a lot of going on in the NFL also. I mean, Friday's big. You're going to get the, who's in, who's out. But I want to leave everybody with this game, Jeff, here. 259-260 in NFL, Green Bay and Minnesota. The line sitting at 3. Pinnacle, it's -3 plus 103. So it almost looks like it wants to move to 2.5. You're going in this game with Case Keenum at quarterback. No Dalvin Cook, no Stephon Diggs. I know Minnesota's defense is really good, but you have to score against Aaron Rodgers. Doesn't matter what defense you bring on the field. Their defense is very good. They play very well at home. But there's sometimes when you try to be a contrarian, which I always try to be to build a case, I don't understand. Like some things I don't understand in the NFL, and this might be one of them here. If you're not backing Green Bay, and I get it, if you just want to say, well, hey, man, look at the numbers. Only 19% are backing Minnesota, and the line is 3. I don't understand it. So I'll leave you with that today and, food for thought.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. Rich Banks, I feel like Rich Banks now doesn't like me anymore. I don't know if he ever did, but I don't know. He seems to have some sort of issue with me. I'm not sure what it is. He's telling me he's going to pray for me. Why wouldn't you pray for me anyway, Rich? I mean, what did I ever do to you?
Well,
but again,
to Allah and God.
Yeah, praise be to Allah. Inshallah, mashallah. Let me ask, Rich, you never answered my question. Would you be interested in going against me? I think it'd be interesting. But we could talk about it. Get in touch with me. So yeah, Donnie, like you said, amen. Alhamdulillah. What do Jews say? What do they say? L'chaim. Everyone
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov, right? L'chaim.
From the old country.
Yeah. I don't have anything against you, Rich. I barely know you, man. I have nothing against anyone. The only person I have someone against, we all know who that is. I have nothing against anyone on here. You guys are all doing what you do. I respect that. Everyone have a great day. We'll be back. Okay, Rich, whatever. Have a great day. We'll be back. Donnie will be back tomorrow or today.
Tonight, 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. I got my and then I have a nice week. I can't even say weekend off. I have a nice Saturday off. Get to enjoy it. A little bit of family time. Then we rev it up. Jeff, good thing about this weekend as well. Eagles already have a win in the books. Woo. Man,
amen. How about that? Weekend. Isn't it great?
Yep.
Isn't it great? I'll be back tomorrow at 11 o'clock. I'll also be on with Gabe Morency tonight about 11 o'clock. Everyone have a great night. We'll see you later.